This one goes out to Sid Eudy, also known as Sid Justice, also known as Sid Vicious, also known as Lord Humongous. Psycho Sid. This dude was wrestling when I was just becoming a fan of pro wrestling. And the thing that struck me with him was that he had issues occasionally with his promos. He wasn't the best wrestler. And of course, I've spent a lot of my life with kind of imposter syndrome and stuff going on. It never feeling like I'm, it took me a lot to get over the feeling of unworthiness in life. And part of that has to do with feeling like you're a screw up, that you're not going to ever do anything right. And I watched this guy occasionally make some subtle mistakes. You could sometimes see he was maybe a little nervous. And for me, that was someone to look up to, that he was doing it anyway. Fake it till you make it. And over the years, of course, lots of interviews come out on the internet and everything, and you can find more out about him and what other people said. And the consensus seems to be that he was an exceptionally nice person. The only people that he ever had any kind of issues with, typically it was a one-off event, or it was someone who really was not a good person. He gave a lot of people breaks in the business, helped a lot of other people out. And if you've ever seen the guy, he was absolutely enormous. He was just shredded muscular. And he was a real bodybuilder, not a roid freak. Didn't like to drink, didn't like to do a bunch of drugs, occasionally liked to smoke a blunt. This was known among the industry apparently the whole time, that he didn't drink, he didn't do any of the other stuff. Just a little smoke. After the pandemic, things started opening back up. A very old and storied independent wrestling company in, I believe, was it Wichita, Kansas, called World Class Championship Wrestling, or WCCW, having featured a number of people from some pretty big promotions over the years, reopened with this man, Sid, as the general manager. And I loved what he was doing with it. And then after a while, that, I think, kind of faded out. And I believe that was about the time that he was probably diagnosed with cancer, although it may have been longer than that. Sid died at 63. My dad died from cancer at 64. And I believe my mom was about 63 too. Yeah. So I feel for his family. This is a guy that didn't blow his money. He spent it wisely, or he saved it up. He provided for his family. And stuck to a pretty strict routine of every summer not touring with the wrestling companies, but instead going back to his hometown in Texas, I believe, and playing for his local softball team. That's the kind of dude he was. And while his promos could be extremely, aggressive, and he had some interesting styles, what it really came to was that nobody in the business, honestly, has a bad thing to say about the guy. Even before he died, even before he got diagnosed, that was the consensus. So I wanted to say something. There's a few people in the business that I, as a fan, really have looked up to, or found some kind of inspiration, or just been impressed the hell out of by. And Sid was one of them. Sid was one of the people I was a fan of in wrestling that I honestly probably would have liked to have met. Just wants to shake his hand or fist bump, or doesn't even matter. Just be like, yo, that's awesome. I appreciate you. And that can't happen. I mean, legitimately, Sid was one of my bucket list to meet people. So, yeah. Shout outs to Sid, his family, his friends. Everyone's in mourning, but everyone's in extreme levels of respect too. That there passeth a great man. So rip in peace, Sid. That's what I got.